Hi, welcome to Myers ASMR. How are you doing? Relax. Relax. Hey, did you know that every fiber of your being knows that everything is supposed to go well for you? Yeah, every fiber of your being knows that everything is supposed to go well for you. Well, I hope this lemony chicken that I just baked goes well for me. Let's dig in. I did not use a commercial marinade. I just kind of mixed some squeezed lemon with vinegar and poured it on. Poured it on. And it tastes phenomenal. Oh my God, I taste garlic. These are boneless thighs. Look at that. The little curry powder, salt. Years ago, I used to watch Ina Garten's cooking show. And one of the recipes I actually made it was a lemon and white wine chicken recipe, and it turned out so great. I didn't have white wine this time. I wasn't going to buy it, but I did have vinegar, so. And my mom used to cook with vinegar. So I said, well, let me mix a little vinegar with some lemon and make a marinade out of that and just pour it on. I only use half a lemon. I don't know why. So it's not very lemony, but it's like just a hint, which is still noticeable. Not everybody likes a strong lemony taste. I cut up a little onion and garlic. That onion tastes like it's on its way out. That's not good. Corn on the cob is great. It's so stuck between my teeth. It's uncomfortable. Feeling those kernels on the tips of my teeth is so satisfying. That was a nice piece of lemony garlic. Looks like I put olive oil on it, but I didn't. I forgot the oregano. But with the curry, it doesn't need oregano. Curry is something special. A little red pepper, but I don't taste it. It's very mild, which is okay. You know, this was just really quickly done. If I had marinated this overnight, yes, yes. I know what to do differently next time. I shouldn't have cooked the whole pack. I should have let the rest of it marinate overnight and just cooked what I was going to eat today. Well, now I know. Yeah, that sauce is really good. Well, I couldn't help myself. I had to go get another piece. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sit here still hungry and act like I wasn't still hungry. So I said, I might as well eat. That's why I cooked it, right? One little piece of chicken. Yeah, right. Let's not lie to ourselves. That sauce. Yeah, that sauce is so good. I just washed my hands and I'm trying to keep them clean this time around so they don't get all greasy. I put it in the oven at 375 degrees with no foil on top. I wanted to get a brownness on the top. So that's why I didn't put foil. Lemon and curry is such a good combination. I cut around the fat, try to cut the fat out. I almost want to say, when in doubt, shake a little curry on it. mixture with a half a squeezed lemon, a stick of cinnamon, a peppermint tea bag, 2 sour sop leaves, 2 hibiscus petals, and a little sprinkle of chamomile petals. Wow, I really taste that cinnamon. You know, the cinnamon sticks have a different type of flavor than the powdered cinnamon. Wow, you gotta try tea with the cinnamon stick in there. That's good. Well, let's see what's happening with the Great Gatsby. I'm getting there. I've got something to tell you, old sport, began Gatsby, but Daisy guessed at his intention. Please don't, she interrupted helplessly. Please, let's all go home. Why don't we all go home? That's a good idea. I got up. Come on, Tom. Nobody wants a drink. I want to know what Mr. Gatsby has to tell me. Your wife doesn't love you, said Gatsby. She's never loved you. She loves me. You must be crazy, exclaimed Tom automatically. Gatsby sprang to his feet, vivid with excitement. She never loved you. Do you hear? He cried. She only married you because I was poor and she was tired of waiting for me. It was a terrible mistake, but in her heart, she never loved anyone except me. At this point, Jordan and I tried to go, but Tom and Gatsby insisted with competitive firmness that we remain, as though neither of them had anything to conceal and it would be a privilege to partake vicariously of their emotions. Sit down, Daisy. Tom's voice groped unsuccessfully for the paternal note. What's been going on? I want to hear all about it. I told you what's been going on, said Gatsby. Going on for 5 years, and you didn't know. Tom turned to Daisy sharply. You've been seeing this fellow for 5 years? Not seeing, said Gatsby. No, we couldn't meet. But both of us loved each other all that time, old sport, and you didn't know. I used to laugh sometimes, but there was no laughter in his eyes. To think that you didn't know. Oh, that's all. Tom tapped his thick fingers together like a clergyman and leaned back in his chair. You're crazy, he exploded. I can't speak about what happened 5 years ago because I didn't know Daisy then. And I'll be damned if I see how you got within a mile of her unless you brought the groceries to the back door. But all the rest of that's a goddamn lie. Daisy loved me when she married me, and she loves me now. No, said Gatsby, shaking his head. She does, though. The trouble is that sometimes she gets foolish ideas in her head and doesn't know what she's doing. He nodded sagely. And what's more, I love Daisy too. Once in a while, I go off on a spree and make a fool of myself, but I always come back. And in my heart, I love her all the time. You're revolting, said Daisy. She turned to me and her voice, dropping an octave lower, filled the room with thrilling scorn. Do you know why we left Chicago? I'm surprised that they didn't treat you to the story of that little spree. Gatsby walked over and stood beside her. Daisy, that's all over now, he said earnestly. It doesn't matter anymore. Just tell him the truth, that you never loved him, and it's all wiped out forever. She looked at him blindly. Why, how could I love him, possibly? You never loved him. She hesitated. Her eyes fell on Jordan and me with a sort of appeal, as though she realized at last what she was doing, and as though she had never all along intended doing anything at all. But it was done now. It was too late. I never loved him, she said, with perceptible reluctance. Not at Kapiolani? Demanded Tom suddenly. No. From the ballroom beneath, muffled and suffocating chords were drifting up on hot waves of air. Not that day I carried you from the punch bowl to keep your shoes dry? There was a husky tenderness to his tone. Daisy? Please don't. Her voice was cold, but the rancor was gone from it. She looked at Gatsby. There, Jay, she said. But her hand, as she tried to light a cigarette, was trembling. Suddenly, she threw the cigarette and the burning match on the carpet. Oh, you want too much, she cried to Gatsby. I love you now. Isn't that enough? I can't help what's past. She began to sob helplessly. I did love him once, but I loved you too. Gatsby's eyes opened and closed. You love me too? He repeated. Even that's a lie, said Tom savagely. She didn't know you were alive. Why, there are things between Daisy and me that you'll never know. Things that neither of us can ever forget. The words seemed to bite physically into Gatsby. I want to speak to Daisy alone, he insisted. She's all excited now. Even alone, I can't say I never loved Tom, she admitted in a pitiful voice. It wouldn't be true. Of course it wouldn't, agreed Tom. She turned to her husband. As if it mattered to you, she said. Of course it matters. I'm going to take better care of you from now on. You don't understand, said Gatsby. With a touch of panic, you're not going to take care of her anymore. I'm not? Tom opened his eyes wide and laughed. He could afford to control himself now. Why's that? Daisy's leaving you. Nonsense. I am, though, she said with a visible effort. She's not leaving me. Tom's words suddenly leaned down over Gatsby. Certainly not for a common swindler who'd have to steal the ring he put on her finger. I won't stand this, cried Daisy. Oh, please, let's go. Who are you anyhow? Broke out Tom. You're one of that bunch that hangs around with Meyer Wolfsheim. That much I happen to know. I've made a little investigation into your affairs, and I'll carry it further tomorrow. You can suit yourself about that, old sport, said Gatsby steadily. I found out what your drugstores were. He turned to us and spoke rapidly. He and this Wolf Sheen bought up a lot of side street drugstores here and in Chicago and sold grain alcohol over the counter. That's one of his little stunts. I picked him for a bootlegger the first time I saw him, and I wasn't far wrong. What about it? Said Gatsby politely. I guess your friend Walter Chase wasn't too proud to come in on it. And you left him in the lurch, didn't you? You let him go to jail for a month over it in New Jersey. God, you ought to hear Walter on the subject of you. He came to us dead broke. He was very glad to pick up some money, old sport. Don't you call me old sport, cried Tom. Gatsby said nothing. Walter could have you up on the betting laws now, too, but Wolf Sheen scared him into shutting his mouth. That unfamiliar yet recognizable look was back again in Gatsby's face. That drugstore business was just small change, continued Tom slowly. But you've got something on now that Walter's afraid to tell me about. I glanced at Daisy, who was staring terrified between Gatsby and her husband, and at Jordan, who had begun to balance an invisible but absorbing object on the tip of her chin. Then I turned back to Gatsby and was startled at his expression. He looked, and this is said in all contempt for the babbled slander of his garden, as if he had killed a man. For a moment the set of his face could be described in just that fantastic way. It passed, and he began to talk excitedly to Daisy, denying everything, defending his name against accusations that had not been made. But with every word, she was drawing further and further into herself. So he gave that up, and only the dread dream fought on as the afternoon slipped away, trying to touch what was no longer tangible, struggling unhappily, unsparingly toward that lost voice across the room. The voice begged again to go. Please, Tom, I can't stand this anymore. Her frightened eyes told that whatever intentions, whatever courage she had had were definitely gone. You two start on home, Daisy, said Tom, in Mr. Gatsby's car. She looked at Tom, alarmed now. But he insisted with magnanimous scorn. Go on, he won't annoy you. I think he realizes that his presumptuous little flirtation is over. They were gone. Without a word, snapped out, made accidental, isolated like ghosts, even our pity. After a moment, Tom got up and began wrapping the unopened bottle of whiskey in the towel. Want any of this stuff? Jordan? Nick? I didn't answer. Nick? He asked again. What? Want any? No. I just remembered that today's my birthday. I was 30. Before me stretched the portentous, menacing road of a new decade. It was 7 o'clock when we got into the coupe with him and started for Long Island. Tom talked incessantly, exulting and laughing, but his voice was as remote from Jordan and me as the foreign clamor on the sidewalk or the tumult of the elevated overhead. Human sympathy has its limits, and we were content to let all their tragic arguments fade with the city lights behind. 30, the promise of a decade of loneliness. A thinning list of single men to know, a thinning briefcase of enthusiasm, thinning hair. But there was Jordan beside me who, unlike Daisy, was too wise ever to carry well-forgotten dreams from age to age. As we passed over the dark bridge, her wan face fell lazily against my coat's shoulder, and the formidable stroke of 30 died away with the reassuring pressure of her hand. So we drove on toward death through the cooling twilight. Interesting. I'll stop there. Well, this was a long video, right? I mean, this book is really heating up. I didn't know it was going to take this kind of turn. It took a while to get going. Like, I didn't really know what the plot was. Honestly, I didn't know what the book was about at all. I picked it up because I knew it was a classic. So, if you want to collaborate with me, if you got any products you want me to sample and review on my channel, let me know. Let's talk. It could be things besides food, not just food related. It could be makeup, jewelry, clothing. Let's see what we can do. It can even be wigs and hair things. And remember that every fiber of your being knows that things are supposed to go well for you. Yeah, every fiber of your being knows that things are supposed to go well for you. Hey, if you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe, donate to the cause. Catch me in the next video, and may you, yes, you, find lasting happiness. Bye.